Hello and welcome to the All Round Coaching Podcast, episode number 61. Mel is with me and we're doing a car podcast because we have just been to an event.
Yeah, hopefully we've got mics on now, so hopefully you don't hear the overwhelming sound of my car driving down the motorway.
This is how professional I am and dedicated to the podcast, so I wanted to make it nice and clear for everyone now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're just driving back from Lancaster, which was from a creative, I don't know if you call it a creative event.
No, you keep saying creative and you're making me feel like I shouldn't have been there, but initially I thought and you thought it was a creative event where it was people in your industry.
Granted, it was called a creative women in creative dinner. That was the title of the event.
Okay, well maybe it's in the name, but it wasn't in the nature, and there was a lot of diversity. But I take quite a bit away from these events anyway, so whether it was creative or not, and I think it was nice to be in a room full of entrepreneurial women and business women that are creating their own businesses, and a lot of things would resonate with us, and everyone's pretty much in a similar boat as well.
Yeah, it was nice to just be in a room full of like-minded people, and because we're both self-employed, like that kind of feeling of not really being around a team of people, like, because it's just you, like, it's nice to hear from others that might be feeling a certain way about maybe some of the things that you're thinking and feeling.
Yeah, and well, when you are self-employed, like, it can be a lonely world as well, so it's nice to know that sometimes other people are feeling a certain way, or it's nice to share, like, your wins, your struggles, like, your failures, and you learn from it, and you'll always learn more from people than just learning obviously from yourself, and sometimes maybe letting the ego get in the way, or not getting anywhere because you feel a little bit stuck, and it's nice to feel inspired, and I always do coming away from things like that anyway.
Yeah, it was a really nice, safe space, and excuse me, the event was a 12-person dinner, so it was nice and small and intimate enough that people could share, like, the thoughts, feelings and struggles, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing, actually. I was just thinking, like, why did it feel so relaxed, and why was it easier? Because I'm quite shy until I get to know people, but it was easy to talk, and I think because the environment was a sit-down dinner, it was nice and relaxed, it was a little bit ambient, because obviously it was in, would you class it as a restaurant? It was like,
I can't remember the name of the bloody place, but it was a pub/restaurant. Like, the food was really, really nice, but it had a very relaxed environment, so probably more of like a gastro pub, I would say.
So I think, like, events that I've been to with coaches, like, you always have to feel like you're on ceremony, and you're probably there to impress the other coaches than you are to maybe humble yourself and learn from them. And I think at events when I've gone to coaching one, I've probably been a lot more reserved. I haven't spoke, even though sometimes, like, a lot of what I say, like, it is pretty fucking good advice, or it is, like, it resonates with people. I'll hold back in my kind of event because you feel like you're under a spotlight, whereas tonight you could speak more freely because it was a lot more relaxed and the people were more open to listen and, like, more receiving of it and not swinging a dick.
Yeah, I mean, it was facilitated well as well. Like, so there was a main speaker who will obviously drop names and stuff within the description, called Ali, and she is like a time management coach. So we all introduced ourselves around the table, then had the meal, and then Ali had her kind of like seminar with us and talk around, like, time management and, like, I suppose the peaks and the pitfalls of it, and I suppose just delivering a little bit more of her expertise.
Yeah, and it was nice to listen to her, and I think, not to say, like, obviously I've got everything spot on, but I think it was nice to know that I am doing a lot of the right things that support me and my business, rather than, and I've said it before, like, social media leads you believing at the minute that you need to earn X amount a month and you have to follow the algorithms. Like, even though I'm doing well with my clients, I'm looking after my people, my team, and, like, my retention's good, and that's what I want to build. I want to build a team that fuck the algorithm and Instagram what it says, and I'm doing a lot of the right things, and I think that was a nice feeling for me.
Yeah, so did you come away feeling like you knew that you were in a good place with your time?
Yeah, I came away and thought, you know what, I'm actually, like, I block book my time, and it's a lot of what I say to my team as well, like, if you don't structure and plan your time, like, time block, plan your day, plan your week. I sit down, like, well, we both do every Sunday, we'll write out our week, we can tick it off, so that's a little yay moment of motivation. But we know what we're doing with our time. When I used to store it in my head, I think it's quite a while ago when I used to do that, you don't get anything done because it's that overwhelming in your head that you don't even move forward. So you'll procrastinate on everything. It's stored in your head and you end up doing absolutely nothing and wondering why you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Ali had mentioned was obviously without sounding like Kim K, like we all have the same 24 hours in a day, it's just how you use them. And there's obviously a lot of factors that she touched on, which we'll obviously go into lightly, that like do have a factor on how you spend your time and why you spend it and why you place it in certain ways, in certain places.
Yeah, well, I said to Ella, didn't I? I was like, I literally just did a podcast on the 168 hours because that's what we have in a week. And obviously the podcast previous to this, I broke down all them hours and what you would be doing, and even including fucking time where you sat watching Netflix or scrolling. Like, is it the best optimisation of your time? Probably not, but it's still included in it. And if it's a wind down time for you, then fair enough, you can still fit it in. Obviously, I'm relating it to people that don't want to exercise, don't want to eat well, and don't want to go out for walks and get moving.
Yeah, I think one of the good takeaway that I had from that is that, like, what are your priorities? If you absolutely want to spend 3 hours on the couch scrolling to your heart's content, then fine, put it in. Like, that's a priority to you. But for most people, I would say that showing up for themselves, looking after themselves, being the best version is a priority.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people miss. Like, I hear it over and over again. I'm overwhelmed. I've no time to exercise. I've no time to prep meals. And they associate everything taking hours and hours and hours. Like, prioritise time. Do you need to scroll on social media for 3 to 4 hours in an entire day? Probably not. Use one of them 30-minute blocks to go and exercise or go for a walk or make a meal. And I used to do meals. I'd put it on my Instagram story where it took me 10 minutes to do. And they were quote-unquote healthy meals, but they supported my goals.
Yeah.
So, yes, you can do it. And like you've just said, it's a prioritisation of that. Is it important to you to look after yourself, show up better for yourself, show up better for your family, your kids or whichever, or is it not?
But again, though, coming to that prioritisation of time, like I think someone touched on it in the group, is that like they don't want to give the time to cooking a meal, for example. So that isn't a priority for them. And I think I was in a similar boat when it came to starting coaching with you, whereas I needed to get my ducks in a row, and cooking and planning meals and making something from scratch just wasn't something that I was willing to give my time to. But I'm at a place now where I can give that. But it's just understanding like what your priorities are, aren't they? Like,
yeah, and I think Ali touched on it as well, and I've said this to clients, like, rather than think you have to tick every single box at once, start small, take that step. So it might be, okay, well, this week I'm going to focus on going for one walk, and you'll get that one walk in. It might be 20 minutes, whichever, or even 15 minutes. It's better than doing nothing. And then the next week we can look at increasing that. So rather than throwing everything at it, and this is probably where people get overwhelmed, start small and then build it up. And I think she touched on that, and that's how she coaches some of her clients in time management and tasks that they want to do. Like, start small and build the momentum of it and build it up, and then obviously that's how you'd build the habit and progress with it further.
Yeah, because I think a couple of people have said, like tonight, that it's an all or nothing mentality. If I'm not perfecting it and getting it right from the get-go, then I can't do it.
I used to do that as well, to be fair.
Yeah, whereas like just small incrementals, like non-negotiables or otherwise, like just the ability to do something is a step forwards, rather than not doing anything at all and staying where you are is even more detrimental, in my opinion.
Yeah, because even 1% improvement each day is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why, it's like I said to a girl called Emily that was there tonight, if you set your optimal targets of what you want to reach and then your non-negotiables, like, you can't be all or nothing, because you'll never get anything done. And I used to be like that. If I couldn't get a full training session in, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
But obviously the only person that suffered was me and my goals over the long term. Whereas now, if I'm not feeling it or if my energy's low, I'll go and do at least 20, 15 minutes, whichever. And generally, I'd always finish a workout because I felt better for starting anyway.
Yeah, because the hardest thing for most people is just going and doing the thing. It's not doing the sets, it's actually getting in the car and going to the gym or putting your shoes on and walking to the gym, isn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people say I'm not motivated, but that action builds motivation and it helps move you forward. So just getting something done is going to help all round.
And we also talked on that that monster of procrastination that we've done it with the podcast, for example, where you talk about doing something so much so that you put it off, that it goes from this being this small little thing to this big like elephant in the room that you just want to keep walking around, that you don't want to do, but it becomes like a bigger thing than what it ever should be.
Yeah, because you think, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow because I'll have more time tomorrow, and then something else happened and you've got your schedule from tomorrow that's already done, but then you're going to add another thing in. So
yeah, I mean, I know from your point of view, there's nothing more frustrating than moving that like time block from one day to the next to the next to the next. Like, it's really aggravating.
Yeah, and I do better when I actually just fucking do it.
Yeah, and sometimes just the doing it is is just it's harder in your head sometimes if you keep putting it off. Like, instead of it becomes like, for example, like there was a podcast episode that we were trying to do the other week, and we kept saying, oh, we can't do it today because I'm busy, or I can't do this, excuse. To the point where like it had gone from just being a 7 to 10 minute conversation to a 30-minute thing in our heads, and I think we're like, oh, we can't sit down and do 30 minutes.
Yeah. Ironically.
I'm so sorry, I had to cough.
She's fired. That's it, get off. Ironically, she's going to cough again.
I'm so sorry, it doesn't happen often.
Ironically, it was the time one.
Fucking hell. Yeah, it was.
But we did it because I pride myself. Like, I like showing up, and I like doing these podcasts. Like, I'm never looking for the biggest following, but I can refer people to these because they are helpful, they resonate with people, and more often than not, like, there is subtle little tips in here that will help you, or it might be like a light bulb moment for someone. So that's why I like to get them out.
Yeah, and like tonight, for example, like, we probably both knew a lot of the things that Ali was saying, but in actual fact, having those conversations, and for me anyway, it felt like a little bit of a mini therapy session where, because you're talking about it and you're having to put it out on the table, like, that's when the light bulb moment hits.
Yeah, and I was just going to say on that, like, it's similar to coaching. Obviously, Ali does coaching for time management, but it, like, we all know what to do. Sometimes it isn't the knowing, it's the application of it, and that's where your coaches come in to help you. And that's where going to events like that help as well. So, yes, we might know something, but how do we apply it? How can we be accountable to someone? That's where you'll delegate and you'll invest like maybe time or money into something to help you do that. And obviously that's what I'm here for. This isn't a sales pitch, but that's what I help people with. And I've noticed recently I want to work with the people that are ready to invest that time into me so I can help them. I'm not for the lazy people. I'm not for the people that make excuses. Like, if you're ready to show up and invest, that's the kind of person I want to work with. And it's took me probably a long time to get to that and realise who I want to work with. And it's probably similar people to myself. Like, there's no excuses. Like, we all go through things, and sometimes like it's not always the optimal thing, but I always pride myself on doing something over nothing.
Yeah, like, I think some of the things that we covered as well was like goal setting, and I think a lot of the people that you want to kind of speak to and work with are the kind of people that have a goal in mind, but they just don't know where to start, or they don't feel like they know how to prioritise their own time.
Yeah.
Like, they need someone to, because let's be honest, like, we talked about like making your life easier. Like, one of the girls, she is a massage therapist, so she says that she uses a laundrette to do all of her towel cleaning because she doesn't want to do it at home. Like, that's working smarter, not harder. Like,
yeah.
If you can get someone, and you've got that luxury of getting someone to help you and aid you in your goals, then why wouldn't you? Like, it's bringing people on board that can take that energy and time, like, give you that time back effectively.
Yeah, because you're never going to get time back. So I think people associate a lot of things with, oh, it's going to cost this. Well, you're investing in something, so you're going to get a return from an investment. So you can spend years being unhealthy, paying for the quick fixes, or trying to spin every single plate yourself, or you can buy time back by investing in someone else to help you with that, and you'll go a lot further. And I think that's what she's done. Like, she's delegated, and it's clever what she's done, because it's took a lot of stress off her. She's not having to do it, and she's probably able to serve the clients better. She's probably able to, if she wanted to, earn more money because she's got time back as well. And
she was saying that obviously psychologically, like, she's not touching them dirty towels that her clients have obviously been on, because then and she knows full well that them towels are clean, like, and she knows that there's not been a lot of like labour that's gone into her cleaning those towels, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. There's a lot more to it than just, I'm going to send the towels to the laundrette. there's like obviously giving yourself that. You call me all the time, but it's giving yourself the gift of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which obviously you do. You help people take that thinking, that thought process out of what am I going to train today? How many steps do I need to do? What calories do I need to set myself if I'm trying to achieve this goal? Like, because I've tried to do it. I've tried to sit down, calculate it, look through Pinterest, look through Instagram, all that kind of crap. And I still never got anywhere. So the amount of hours that I must have spent over the years just trying to figure out, find the way and the algorithm or whatever the hell you call it, the formula to get me to where I wanted to be. In actual fact, I could have spent giving it to you or giving it to a coach where you obviously handle all of that for me.
It's like me taking the thinking away from it, but I'll teach people how to sustain it. Like, it doesn't just start at calories in the training plan. Like, I want to help you form habits. I'll show you how to do it, how to manage your time, what you could be doing with your time, how it's going to affect you. So if I say I want you to move outside the gym a little more, I'm going to tell you why I want you to move outside the gym a little more.
Yeah.
And it's normally in line with your goals, what you want to achieve. And sometimes it is for your mindset. Like, I'm never going to go down the route and say I'm a mindset coach, but I'll say I'm pretty good on the mindset side because A, I've been there, and B, I've had therapy, which cost a few fucking grand. So I don't want to blow me on trumpet, but obviously I always make myself sound small, but I am pretty good at that side, and I can give the advice. I probably just don't fucking take it or do it myself half the time.
Yeah. I mean, you helped me kind of like, I was very similar to you where before you in particular, I didn't really have a calendar. I didn't plot any of my time. So I would either forget events with friends. I would forget what I was doing that week. I felt overwhelmed. I felt like I was so busy. Where in actual fact, it wasn't until I sat down, planned my calendar, planned my weeks, where I realised actually I have a lot more time than what I thought I did.
Yeah. It's nice that, and it's not something I'd go back on. And I try and get it to my team. Like, if you plan and structure, you can do it, and find little pots in your day where you can go out for a walk, have a little bit of you time, you can exercise, you can spend time with your family, and you can actually watch Netflix if you wanted to. It shouldn't be at the detriment to your health. Like, your health's for life, so stop seeing it as something that you have to do and see it as something that you can do, and you're fortunate that you can do it, and you've got the opportunity to look after your health before it is too late.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people's like, oh, sorry, it's not the right time to start now because I've got X, Y, and Z on. Okay, well, life's always going to be busy. There's always going to be shit storms coming in the way. Your health isn't going to wait, so you're either going to prioritise it or you're not. That's my 10 penneth on that.
Yeah, it's how you spend your time and how wisely you spend it, because you're only here once, aren't you? Like, I try and see time as like a monetary value. Like, where am I going to place that? If somebody gave me 100k for the week, like, how am I going to spend that 100k? Like, I'm going to spend it more wisely than just fucking burning it.
I mean, you say we're only here once, but I used to say, and I think it was a quote that I saw ages ago, like, you die once, but you live every day. So how do you want to live? Do you want to be unhealthy, or do you want to suffer in later life, or do you want to take control of your health now? And obviously I'm relating that to what I do, because obviously I'm working in the health and fitness industry.
Yeah.
So.
And again, coming back to like being self-employed, it's, I think obviously we spoke about it on the last podcast, but like, it's so important that if you aren't looking after yourself, looking after your health, looking after your time, like, it does come back and bite you in the arse. And like, sacrificing that hour to yourself, like, every couple of days for training, for example, is much more, such a small sacrifice in comparison to me not being able to go to work and earn a living for a couple of days because I've run myself down into the ground.
Yeah, and it's delayed gratification, isn't it? I think because people don't see the results there and then, that they get disheartened with it. And you know what? It can take months, if not years, to see the work that you've put in, if you are working on your physique or if you are working on your business. Like, in anything you do, not everything is instant, so stop expecting it just to happen. And especially if you're not working hard either. Like, a lot of people think it's a given that the success should just be handed to them. Like, everything requires work that's worth it.
Yeah, and that's why you want to speak to certain types of people, isn't it? You want to speak to the people that understand that change and success comes from incremental changes, not from just waking up one day and all of a sudden being a successful business person.
Yeah, because people say, are you lucky to work for yourself or it's a risk? Well, no, I work hard every fucking day, probably behind closed doors that a lot of people wouldn't see, just to get to this lucky position or have this much time that people think.
That goes back to like what we touched on though, and that for me felt like a light bulb moment from this discussion that we had was like, in order to be successful, in order to be like a good business person, it doesn't mean that you have to have every single minute allocated for, like, in terms of, you don't have to be busy all of the time in order to be successful.
No.
Like, in actual fact, some of the most successful people actually have the shit together. They have the me time plan, they have the family time plan, they have the social time planned. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous to say that it's planned, but they allocate that as a priority, not just, I've got to be business head, work all of the time, because it's just not life, is it?
No, and like, if you don't plan time for yourself or enjoyment, like, what are you working towards?
But yeah, you're just working all the time.
So there needs to be that. Yes, there will be times where work-life balance is off kilter a little bit, and I've had it. Like, I do believe probably my first year being self-employed, like, I absolutely grafted every hour under the sun.
Yeah.
And it took me, how long did it take me? Three, maybe 4 years to get to the point where I am now, where I'm not working every day, where I do choose the days that I work, I set my times that I work, and all my boundaries are in place. But that's looking at me having been in, like, self-employed for 5 years, and I know people on the outside looking in, like, they might be in the first year and want to be not necessarily where I am now, but the flexibility of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to step back and think, what am I going to work hard towards now? When am I going to plan my time in? And obviously setting yourself goals for that as well.
Yeah, I think it's having goals at the top level, like the bigger goals, and then it's the small incremental goals and tasks that get you to that bigger goal, isn't it? Like, so for example, when I came to you, I knew that I wanted to feel a lot better within myself and have a lot more confidence within myself, and I knew that the way that I looked was impacting that. So we obviously had a goal in mind as to what I wanted to look like, but then that meant that the daily tasks and the daily goals, like, got us there. It wasn't just, it didn't just come to you one day and all of a sudden I was lean. Like, it didn't work like that.
No, and that's, I think people come and they think I'm a magic formula, like, it will not work if you do not work. Like, no matter, I can give you every secret that fucking every coach pretends to keep, but the things that I do set in place, like, I do make them simple for people to follow so they can learn from it as well, but you have to work. It's a two-way street. It isn't just a given. And I know a lot of people come to me predominantly just for fat loss, and it does go beyond that. And the longer I work with a person that'll come to me, like, we discover a little bit more, okay, it isn't just fat loss, it's your habit forming, it's your relationship with food, it's your minimal movement throughout the day, it's your boundaries in work, and that's how we start to unravel. And that's what I like to do with people. I'll build the relationships with them so I can help them further. So if you're thinking, oh, I'll go to a coach for fat loss, stay with them for a month or two, and then I'll piss off, like, you're not going to get the most from your investment there.
No, not at all.
So I think
it was a really good dinner. Just to kind of recap, like, I think they're really, really nice, those kinds of events, just because you kind of come away feeling a little bit more pepped up and a little bit more, I suppose, excited about either work or life, or just having had some stories from different faces.
Yeah, just feeling more inspired, because I think for me the past couple of weeks, like, I haven't enjoyed the social media aspect. I've not enjoyed what I've seen on social media, and it's hard to not, like, I always try to say, don't look sideways, but sometimes it's hard not to. And I think it's nicer to be around people that kind of want to see you win, they're clapping you on, and it isn't just a competition. And that's what I struggle with in my industry. Like, it feels like a competition, like, we don't get together, or I've not seen it, and it feels like coaches are trying to talk to coaches and impress each other rather than have an impact on people. So I enjoyed tonight, obviously, to wrap this up. We will be back, obviously, next week, maybe with a life story, maybe with something helpful, who knows.
Yeah, so there'll be definitely more dinners.
The next one's a cocktail one in November, actually, so we will update on that when we actually go to it. And we're away in a couple of weeks, a long-awaited holiday, which I think we both need for a big switch off where there'll be no work.
Yeah, absolutely. Cannot wait.
So we will see you next time. Hopefully you've enjoyed this podcast. If you found it useful, obviously you can share it with your friends on the socials. Support little businesses, because obviously it does help. And we're just out here trying to do a good job, give good advice, and be them helpful little peoples.
Yeah. Amen, sister.